Ladies and gentlemen, it is Shams season. It's that time of year. Get your tweet notifications on. Do whatever you got to do. Prepare accordingly. We are at that time of the NBA season. The off season in the NBA is unlike any other, and this off season is looking like it's going to be just as crazy as so many in years past. Now, it sounds like Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be staying put. At least that's kind of what the vibe has changed into, just on social media and whatnot. That's kind of the feeling. But Kevin Durant is on the move. And today we got the main teams that have expressed interest from Shams. And it's frankly a roster, a lineup of teams that I'm not surprised to see, and I don't think anybody should be surprised to see. It's pretty much the teams that everyone thought. Houston, San Antonio, Miami, Minnesota, and New York. I mean, there's been a couple, as I'm reading the article here from ESPN, a couple wild card suitors that have also made inquiries in the past 7 to 10 days. So certainly that implies that it doesn't have to necessarily be one of those 5 teams that Kevin Durant ends up going to, but it sure feels like those teams are the likely landing spots. Like one of those teams is going to have Kevin Durant on their roster this next season, is what it certainly feels like. It felt like that before this report, and now even strengthens that even more. But I think it's important to note that you are getting Kevin Durant. And what I mean by that is I want people to understand exactly what they're getting in Kevin Durant. So at this point right now, $54.7 million for the 25-26 season. So technically, it is on contract this year with Phoenix. So like it still certainly feels like, especially around the NBA draft, that this is going to happen. But there's another year on the contract, and then once traded, will be eligible for a 2-year contract extension for $112 million, or wait 6 months, that goes up to $124. And then that free agency market, obviously when the 2026 comes around, like the cap space changes and everything and all that. So I think it's important to note that you are trading for presumably the last years of Kevin Durant's career. And with that being said, this is a guy who turns 37 in September, but is averaging 26.6 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Like, I mean, like 25 points, 50% shooting, and 40% on 3-pointers in 3 straight seasons, which is the longest streak ever in the NBA according to ESPN. Like this is Kevin Durant still. Like, it's different than the Warriors years, the Thunder years. It's different, but this is still Kevin Durant. So when I look at these teams, I look at teams that are in different parts of their progression, right? For example, Houston and San Antonio. Those are teams that are younger. Those are teams that have more of a focus on their younger prospects, right? And haven't been able to make that leap into the playoffs. And I think, coming from especially an OKC fan and myself, like, the idea of patience and making sure you're not giving up too much. Like, I don't imagine that San Antonio gives up the number 2 overall pick. That feels a lot for Kevin Durant at this stage in his career. But you will probably be giving up some of your young pieces, right? And same with Houston. Like, not necessarily the pick, but as much as the idea of, you're going to be giving up a legitimate young piece for Kevin Durant. Now, I think there's some young pieces, if you look at, Jalen Green, or whether it's Jabari Smith, like, those type of players are, potentially expendable for what you are able to bring in KD. I think my question is it enough to warrant what you're trading away to get KD? Is whatever result that you are getting enough to go and do that? And I'll be very interested. Obviously, Houston was very solid this year, but not making the playoff run that they had wanted to make at all. So, like, you're looking at a team that was a 2 seed, but then loses in the first round to Golden State. So where it's about kind of finding where you want to make those changes. And is Kevin Durant enough to level you up in that way? I think there's certainly an argument for it. And I think the same argument can be made with San Antonio. If you get Wemby back healthy and you add Kevin Durant into that next to De'Aaron Fox and next to whatever young pieces that you're able to keep in there, which there's definitely several that are going to be very, very good that you're likely able to keep because, I mean, they just have a pretty damn good amount of young, good pieces on that team. You're probably, I mean, you can make the argument for both of those teams pretty easily. Now, I think on the flip side, you have Miami less so. Miami, I'm frankly not moved by being in this. Like ends up in the first round as the 8th seed. I don't know. Like I'm not moved in comparison to the rest of these teams about what Kevin Durant brings to like the elevation that it brings to Miami. Because like with Houston and San Antonio, you're younger teams that like can jump up into the playoffs, or if you're Houston going on that deep run of the playoffs. Miami kind of in the middle of all these teams, because Minnesota and New York, you are banking on the fact that you bring in Kevin Durant and you elevate from that conference finals ceiling that you got stuck at in this playoffs. And I think Minnesota, and I had a whole video on that. I'll link it down below in the description on Minnesota, so I don't want to spend too much time on them, but I love the idea of giving Anthony Edwards another alpha next to him in Kevin Durant. Like, their relationship is very well documented. I love that idea because they desperately needed another player that could go and score, and they just didn't really have that. Now, do they have the best deal to potentially give Phoenix? I don't think so. And I think that's where, depending on what Phoenix is looking to do from this trade, how they are looking to recoup, I think that's where New York comes in and it gets really interesting. Because it's no secret that Devin Booker and Karl-Anthony Towns go way back to college days, and that their relationship is still super, super good. They're good friends. That is very intriguing to me. Both from, like, if you are Phoenix and you are, like, you still get a piece that is going to be around for a while, and you keep Devin Booker very happy with that, and you're able to kind of stay competitive, or get back to competitive, really, after the way this season went. So it's a bit more of a win now move-ish for Phoenix. I don't think you're expecting to go win the finals by adding Karl-Anthony Towns to your team, but in comparison to maybe what Houston or San Antonio can give you, it's a bit more of like the next 3 years versus the next 5 years. And I think that that's an interesting trade. And then from New York, like, you go to add Kevin Durant. Like, you obviously the way that this season went out with Karl-Anthony Towns, like, immediately as soon as I get eliminated, you get like the hit piece coming out about the defense and all that stuff. Like, if we are under the assumption that is the truth, that is not great seeing that by any means. If you are a New York Knicks fan, so I'm very intrigued by the idea of New York within that. I think personally, like, from what I want to see, I love the idea of Kevin Durant in San Antonio or Minnesota. Like, I think that would be the most fun fits. I think Houston makes a lot of sense as well. I mean, New York, you can certainly make the argument. Miami, I think you get better by adding Kevin Durant. I don't know how much deeper you're able to go in that, because again, to me, they're a little bit in the no man's land between the younger teams of Houston and San Antonio and the teams in Minnesota and New York that were able to find success this year and just kind of need that extra little boost to get into the finals. To me, I don't want to see him in Miami. I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't move me. But the other 4 teams, I can get behind. But it just all comes down to, what is Phoenix looking for in terms of getting it back in this trade? What is Kevin Durant looking for in terms of a destination? And again, I think that there's arguments that can be made for all of these. And obviously we don't know about the wild card suitors as well. And then just truly, like, for each of these teams, what do you have to give up? Because I think that Minnesota and New York have some larger contracts, whether it be a Randall or a Cat, that if you're able to make it work with Phoenix, and that's an if, but if you're able to make it work with Phoenix, you're probably pretty happy getting off those contracts on top of bringing in Kevin Durant. For the younger teams, for Houston and San Antonio, which young pieces are you willing to part with to go and get Kevin Durant? And do you feel like that is worth it to try and go and get better in the immediacy instead of being patient? And I think there's certainly an argument that is the correct move to make. Because regardless, you're getting Kevin Durant. And that is a massive, massive deal. But let me know, where would you want to see Kevin Durant at the most. And make sure you like, subscribe, share. I'm here all offseason. I love the offseason. I love all the rumors. I love all the mess. I need it. I need it all. So I'm here. I'm excited. Of course, finals breakdown. We got a finals game tonight as I'm recording this. I'll make sure that the react is up for here. So make sure you like, subscribe, share, all those things. And I'll see you next time.